What is going on, people? I am Admiral Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat, listening to the dulcet tones of Tommy Scoville, bringing it to you late on a Monday night. Get a cup of coffee, kick back. Sorry. Coach Lisa, good to see you. Welcome to the boat. Kristen Melinda, there you are. There you are. Well, I hope your little guy gets to sleep so he can kick it with us. Jason P, good to see you. Lynn Sanity, what's happening? Hey, Janet G. Shannon Smith. Bacon Bits, Ben Turner. You know, it's funny you bring up Bacon Bits, Ben Turner. I will be live with Bacon Bits, Ben Turner tomorrow over on his channel at 2:30 California time. Be there or be, don't do it. Don't do it. Shannon, good to see you. 7th, welcome to the party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I live for now. Great way to live. Miss Sunrise Dawn, hi from North Georgia, everyone. You know she's a non-smoker, right? Aunt KK, a.k.a. Karen Pooley. Well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad to have you here, for real. That's awesome. Mrs. G, what's up? Mo Love, how are you, Mo? Laura Lou, Janet G, Mama D, Shy Bear. I got a job today after being in Tennessee for 1 month now. Well, congratulations. Huh? How cool is that, everybody? That's got to feel good. For real, that's got to feel good. Congratulations. That's awesome. Takes a lot of stress off of you, doesn't it? I would imagine it would. Deanna Downey, good to see you. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, whose real name is Allison Metcalf Palumbo. Surprised you didn't know that. Dee Dee Razzle Dazzle. Yeah, DJ Scoville in the hizzy. Dominic, good to see you. Error, melodramatic malfunction. Uh-oh. Marion Calabro, good to see you. Riley's Human, good to have you. And we've got Gemini Girl 65. Joseph Burrow. What's up, Joseph? Good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Call me Matrix Rabbit. Yeah. Good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Just Joan? No, we got the gang, people. Tina Marie, there you are. Lynn Sanity. Spike, how are you? Shades of Gray. A lighter shade of gray. Is that Skip the Light Fandango? Anybody? Anybody? Procol Harum. Yes. Conversations with Christy. Hello, I'm now in North Dakota, and it's a nice and cool. You are getting around, woman. Wow, that sounded bad, didn't it? You're getting around the country. Good for you. Good for you. It's always nice to see a lot of this country. You watched that infomercial? You had to squint real hard, and I'm still not 100% sure Tommy was in it. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. You know, I saw a great comment earlier where somebody said, I'm well, Matrix Rabbit, where somebody said, you know, I watched that infomercial from start to finish, and no disrespect, but I like Tommy Scoville a lot more than I like that Brett Miller cat. And I've been saying that for a long time. I really have. I've been saying that for a real long time. It's an expression that comes up a lot with me. Hey, Charlie Mullins, good to see you. ASAP Lizzie, good to see you. Shy Bear, I'm sorry to hear that. Stress is a terrible thing. Iced Autumn, good to see you. Yeah, stress is no good, man. Stress is something we need to remove from our lives as much as possible. Renee Rainbow, I'm glad you're here. JBZ, what's happening? Yarn Prepper. Yeah. Jason P, tell your wife I said hello too. Rick Spicer, how are you? Carry on. Carry on. My wayward son. Call me Matrix Rabbit. I have 2 accounts. I prefer being in green, so I'm back now. Well, there you go. There you go. I got you. I got you. I'm just settling down from the biggest panic attack in my sleep. Woke me up. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Can't even escape in my sleep. You know what? That sucks. That really does. I'm not busting any chops, but since you got up, if you put a pen to paper, you really should. When you're really hurting, before anything starts to get involved, Keep in mind what's happening when you do this, right? I know I'm beating this to death, people, but I hope you're taking notes. Why would you be having a panic attack? Do you think it's the logical center of your brain? Do you think the higher functioning is causing that panic attack? Because I assure you, it is not. Right? It's not. Panic attacks are caused by what? The emotional part of your brain. We would like to engage the executive part, the higher function. We have to engage it vis-a-vis this emotional problem we're having, right? So it's got to be a little bit of both. But um, too often, the decisions that we make and everything that we do are all based in emotion, and they're never good, right? The other one is called executive or higher function for a freaking reason, right? Emotion's not going to help you out. Honestly, you're not going to score with that. Oh, wow. I look forward to this part of the day. This is the best part of any day, unless, of course, it can get better, which I'm okay with. Oh, it's a great freaking, it really is. That is an excellent comment. Uh, you know what? I'll tell you guys a little inside baseball, right? I don't even know that I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Uh, that book that Johnny Scoville and I have been working on, that book is all but done, people. And what I mean by that is the book is done, and now the people that proofread and do all of those things and things look like that. That's what's going to happen now. But the book is done. It beat the crap out of me. I'll be really honest with you, man. It beat the crap out of me. My brother would call and say, "I need to talk to you about this. I need to ask you some questions about this." And it's tough stuff. It's stuff that you don't want to relive, right? Especially if you became a different person. And I got to go back and relive that. Yeah, it's just I could have done without it. It's tough. Roberta says, Tommy, bug tussle looks good on you. You know what? It feels good. Shannon Smith says, I couldn't even see the same person. I appreciate that. And I believe it. Getting a new relieves so much stress. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Hey, DNV, good to see you. DNV 1983 is in the house. Yeah, one of the most depressing things in the world. I spent a very long period of my life suffering with debilitating insomnia. I mean, vicious insomnia. And it cuts your quality of life down so much. It's incredible. Debbie P, good to see you. Tamber June, what's happening? Brazy Girl, Teresa Baldessari. We got a bunch of new ones here. Good. Glad you're here. This is what happened to me, right? My quality of life was in the crapper. I was talking to doctors. I was talking to shrinks. I was talking to anybody I could because the not sleeping thing was killing me. I was miserable. I wasn't treating anybody nice. My work suffered. It just was really, really bad. And the greatest gift of sobriety, hands down, the greatest gift of sobriety is the ability to sleep and sleep well. I mean, that to me is unbelievable. Call me Matrix Rabbit says, you've been a lot happier since being around Reese. It looks good on you. You give the impression I might be able to find a special someone. You know something? I hope that anyone that is single, that's their takeaway, because I absolutely would have argued the point that was even a possibility. But obviously it's not, you know, obviously. But I love that. I really do. I love that. And I am a lot happier here. And it's a combination. I mean, it's obviously quibbled, but um I have a really good time with her boy. We were out throwing a baseball today and having a ball, just having a good time. And the animals, and it's a much slower and more laid back pace. This does agree with me. There's no question. Dangerous Journeyman says, Tommy, we're remembering, not reliving. Takes the emotions out of it. Helped with the fourth step writing. Yeah, I believe that. And you're right. You're absolutely right. No way I can argue that point. You are right. Susan Miller, good to see you. Susan's checking in from Portugal. 3 a.m. Can't sleep. A lot of weighing on my mind right now. Trying to sell up and move home to UK. Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Thoughts and prayers for you. I hope that goes well. Susan, I love Susan Miller. I really do. Susan's great. Yeah, I really hope that works out. Mach, good to see you. Mo Love, I'm sorry to hear that. Mo Love says she's struggling with dreams that She's either being chased or being rubbed out, like someone's trying to kill her. That's awful. Um, that really is awful. Fear says, "Thank you, Tommy. I accidentally missed my meds today, and I had a big day out in the world. I've learned panic attacks are my subconscious yelling at me to take care of something emotional." Yeah, I think that's for everybody, right? I think that's for everybody. They may also be yelling to take your medication, and I'm not busting your chops, but for those of us who are mentally ill, I am. For those of us who are mentally ill, if they are able to get us stabilized, if they're able to give us a medication that is going to get us a quality of life that mimics normal people, right? That mimics normies, man, you got to take that medication, right? You got to get religious about it. And people go, I forgot this and that. Man, did you ever forget your heroin? For real? Did you ever forget to fix on smack? Did you ever forget to do your drug of choice? Of course not, right? Because it was the most biggest priority of your life. You got to work on that. Um, I've never been a great sleeper. My brain just doesn't want to shut off, but I have found a couple of things that work. You know what? There's a lot of tricks out there that people do. Lori Lee, good to see you. There's a lot of tricks out there that you can do to try to get yourself to sleep. There are tricks. I still occasionally will find myself unable to sleep, where I'll be laying in bed staring at the ceiling like everybody else. You know what the difference is? The difference is when I lay in bed now and I stare at the ceiling, I'm not bummed out. When I'm laying in bed now, staring at the ceiling, I'm not feeling bad for myself. I'm not thinking that life sucks. I'm not going through all of the things that need to be fixed. ASAP Lizzie, good to see you. B. Hendricks. I know I saw somebody else here. Who did I miss? Who did I miss? Conroe? Did I see Conroe, Texas? Rick Smith. Okay. So, what I wanted to talk about today, people, and I think this is going to dovetail right into it, which is lovely. Uh, but what I was going to talk about is the thumbnail. If you saw it, are you malfunctioning? Right? Are you malfunctioning? Doesn't mean you're broken. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means that you're not performing the way you were designed. Is that you? Right? Is that you? If you're a drug addict, I guarantee it's you. I guarantee it's you. There are parts of your brain that aren't going to do what they're supposed to do. The reward center being the biggest of them. Yeah. Okay. The reward center of the brain is designed to make sure that we stay on planet Earth. Does this make sense? The reward system of the brain makes sure that the things that we do that are going to make the species keep going forward, it rewards with chemicals and all kinds of stuff to make us feel good, to make us feel like we're doing something positive. Raise your hand if you've had sex. Most of you. All right. Obviously, sex feels fantastic, right? Because procreation keeps the species going, right? So there's a bunch of chemicals that get dumped in when you find a woman that you love or you find a man that you love and you feel like it's all I can think about. It's the greatest stuff in the world. It's a cocktail of chemicals. Hope between the dreams. Good to see it. It is a cocktail of chemicals that are getting dumped into your brain. Plain and simple, right? It's love. Love's great, but it's chemicals that makes you feel that. Linda Reese, good to see you. Angie Mo. So when this is going on, hey, Squirrel Girl, when all of this is going on, very often we will find ourselves the normal individual, right? The normies. This is exactly what their reward center is doing. But for people like me, right? The first time I did heroin, first time I ingested that stuff and got it into my body, the reward center of my brain did what it did to me the day they handed Spanx Calhoun to me in the hospital. The day that they handed my daughter to me in the hospital. That collection of brain chemicals that got dumped down, I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. This is what happens. So all of a sudden, everything that is me is going, the most important thing in the entire world is that stuff right there. Think about how you are with your kids, right? I'll kill for my kid. I jump in front of a bus for my kid. There's nothing you wouldn't do for your kid, right? Well, I'm not being disrespectful, but the reason that is because the brain chemicals that bonded you with that child when they first were born, those brain chemicals are what made that a reality. Yeah. So if your drug of choice brings on those same chemicals, it's literally reinforcing to you that this is the most important thing on earth. It's more important than your girl or your guy. It's more important than your kids. It's more important than God. It's more important than anything. This is the most important thing in your life. And the crazy thing, people, we talked about this yesterday briefly, but if you're a drug addict or you're an alcoholic, this is something that makes sense to everybody that's listening to me. If your drug of choice is alcohol, right? And you know that you're starting to feel like if you don't get a drink, something bad's going to happen because there's physical withdrawal badly from alcohol, right? But you get that drink and it touches your lips, and the second it does, you feel better. Well, that alcohol hasn't done anything to your body yet, right? We know this. It's going to take a lot longer than 1 minute for that alcohol to do anything to you. Then how is it that when the whatever your poison is, right? A bourbon or a beer or whatever, when that first hits the taste buds, how the hell is it you're feeling better? Doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't be. You're gonna have to wait 15 to 25 minutes for that to get into your stomach, leak through the stomach lining, get into your bloodstream, course around a few times, right? And then start doing what it does in the brain so that you start feeling a buzz and you can relax. But that's not what happens. It's not what happens at all. In fact, sometimes just smelling it or mixing the drink yourself, right? Sometimes that's enough to do it. Or, as I was describing yesterday, I couldn't walk into a bar and get my drug of choice. I waited in a parking lot for somebody to come and deliver it to me. Hold on one second. Jeanette, do you know what your son is using? Jeanette says, Tommy, I couldn't comment. A weird screen kept coming up. My son can't sleep. He keeps himself awake. I started watching you in hopes of figuring out how to help him. Unfortunately, he is using. Is he using? Do you know if it's methamphetamine? Is he using something that's keeping him awake? Is this what you're talking about? The nice thing about the drugs that keep you awake is you will start to sleep as soon as you get off of them. Right? It's a very, very people would talk about kicking methamphetamine. I'm not being disrespectful, but kicking methamphetamine is usually sleeping for 3 or 4 days. Right? There's most of the time they're not even getting up. They'll get up to use the bathroom or whatever, but it's a matter of laying down and just you're out, right? You are absolutely out. Think for a second, what happens if the reward center of your brain, right? Adderall or meth, Adderall is meth. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the drug, but Adderall is meth, right? They're the same drug. They're just made a little different. In fact, it goes Ritalin, Adderall. The next one is dextromethamphetamine, right? The next one above that would be, so that's Dexedrine. And then above that, you have Dizoxin. And if you look on the label for Dizoxin, it says methamphetamine. Like they're not even BSing you. There's nothing else in there. It is methamphetamine. So if you're taking those, you're taking a oral version of the same drug. Honestly, that's kind of just, pharmaceutical grade meth, says Darcy. And you're right. That's what you're taking. And here's why. If this doesn't make sense to you, let me try to help you out with this. Your child can't focus, or maybe you have ADHD, right? You can't focus on something. People talk about tweakers. You probably heard this term, right? Well, what is a tweaker? Well, a tweaker is someone that literally tweaks on something. Like they get so preoccupied on one thing that they might spend 5 hours on it. Well, that's the exact opposite of someone with ADHD, isn't it? You follow me? Okay. Well, if you're all over the place and you're scattered and you can't focus, a drug that makes you tweak might be just enough for somebody like that, right? So what happens, which is really odd, is if someone has ADHD and they take speed, it slows them down. It doesn't speed them up. It slows them down. It causes them to focus. Everything comes in. It's a very unusual thing. On the flip side of that, right? If you give that drug to someone who doesn't have ADHD, they bounce off the walls like a ping pong ball. I have seen people who had vicious, vicious problems who would take a Valium, right? Or any benzo, and you would have thought that they were doing meth or they were doing blow because they would bounce off the wall. They would be, because their brain chemistry is so different, right? It's just a very, very different setup, right? Hold on one second. All right. Sorry, people. Hey, Izzy, good to see you. Glad that you're here. So, tweaking is awful. There's no question. I do not need a PM nap. Brazy Girl says, Admiral Tommy, as a THC user for sleep, do you find you need a PM nap? What milligram do you need? I'm considering trying it. So I use 30 milligrams, and I use the what I take at night is designed to put you asleep. It's not something that you take to stay awake and have a good time on. This is sleep. This is designed to make you go to sleep. And it's CBD, it's CBN, and it's THC, and it's at a 2-to-1 ratio or something like that, right? But it's 30 milligrams, and I do not have any issue whatsoever with needing to nap or doing anything. No, it works beautifully for me. Listening to Britney Spears and Ritalin made her high, says Mrs. G. Yeah, then she shouldn't have been on it, right? Very often, like if Ritalin's making you high, then you don't have ADHD. That's it, right? If it makes you do this number, it's because you don't have ADHD, because the brain chemistry is such that if you were to take that drug and you had ADHD, you wouldn't get high on it. In fact, it would slow you down and just sort of make you more focused. My son has profound ADHD. Caffeine makes him sleepy. Well, they used to say back in the day that if your child was hyperactive, that was, they called it before they came out with, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Prior to that, right? The kids were just, high strung, kind of spastic. Like if the kid had way too much energy, they would recommend that you gave them a cup of coffee. If you could get the kid to take tea or something that had caffeine in it, because it would do the exact same thing. Shy Bear says, oh yeah, I can drink an energy drink and fall right asleep. So, I mean, this is a real thing. Yeah. Hold on one second. Oh man. I am so sorry. Allison Metcalf Palumbo says, I'm not malfunctioning. I'm just sad. My friend Mary found her husband, and my friend Chip passed away in bed yesterday morning. He just never woke up. In his 60s. My husband is also devastated. I am so sorry to hear that. And this is one of those things it's really hard to hear ever, right? If you just lost somebody, the last thing in the world you want to hear is anything that's got a positive, twist to it at all. But if you asked everybody on earth, how would you like to go? Almost everybody that answers that question would say, in my sleep. It sucks that the individual passed away at 60, but what a blessing to go to sleep and not wake up. Huh? For real. People that where you fight a disease for 2.5 years and you watch it ravage your body, and by the end you're not who you are. And it's an awful thing. It really is. It's awful. Allison, you will be in my thoughts and prayers. I am so sorry. I really am. That's hard. But again, the only bright side I see in this, the only silver lining here is that if you gotta go, right? That's how I'd like to do it. Yeah, I'd like to just fall asleep and never wake up. Beats most of the alternatives. Yeah, thank you, Allison. And I know it's not much of a consolation, and it's not usually something you want to hear while you're grieving, but man, there's some truth to it. So, I am a great example of a malfunctioning reward center of the brain. When I became addicted to heroin, literally nothing on earth was more important. I didn't understand this. I didn't realize there was chemicals in there making it happen. I didn't realize that my brain was literally saying, hey, you know what? This is what you need, right? You're going to die without this. I had no idea that that's what was taking place. All I knew was how the effects felt, right? Brazy says, Admiral, how do you get your circadian rhythm and REM back after sobriety? Thank you. I'm exhausted. Here's the good thing. The circadian cycle is going to be a bitch, right? When you should be asleep at night, you end up nocturnal. That's hard. That just takes time, and it takes a crap load of discipline. And I'll tell you real quickly some of the stuff you can do on that, right? But as far as the REM stuff, science is saying that it's not nearly as big a deal as we used to think it was, right? For a long time, we have believed that if your eyes weren't doing the flutter and you weren't getting the rapid eye movement, REM sleep, you weren't dreaming. And if you're not dreaming, then are you really getting the benefits of sleep? Now, what they're saying is we sleep because we have to dream. That's why we're sleeping, because we need to dream. And Science, with much better equipment these days, will tell you that dreaming starts happening before rapid eye movement. In fact, dream can happen the second you are asleep. Once you are not awake anymore, you can begin dreaming. And this is new. This is stuff that people did not know. But Brazy, here's what you got to do. Go to bed at the same time every single friggin' night. You have to have a routine for this. If you're struggling going to sleep, you have to go to sleep at the same time every single night. You have to journal so that your thoughts aren't doing this one in your head. Get them in order so that when you lay down to go to sleep, you have gone through this stuff. I promise you it will have a profound effect. Do not eat within a certain time of going to sleep. I like to go 4 or 5 hours, right? Don't eat anything when you get close because sometimes digestion will mess you up so that you're not going to sleep, right? Don't do anything that has a shot of keeping you up. And I start to wind down. When I had insomnia, this was a very big deal. If I was going to bed at 10, I started the process probably 40 minutes before that because it's a mindset. And everything I did, brushing my teeth, washing my face, all of it had to be such a friggin' routine because I needed to juke my brain into allowing me to go to sleep, right? I had insomnia. I had to do whatever the hell I could do to go to sleep. But circadian rhythm, you're just going to be looking at spending a lot of time. Sadly, I wish there was a better answer for that, but there's not. It's just going to take you a long time of having to do that. Call Me Matrix says, I don't dream. And you'll hear this a lot from people. A large section of the population says that they do not dream. I am of the belief that there is nobody on planet Earth that does not dream. I believe there are people that cannot remember their dreams. And I think that there's no way to kind of prove or disprove this, but that's what I think most people who study sleep believe as well, because they're found the stuff that they're now calling dream pressure. When we're not sleeping, when we don't sleep for a long enough period of time, this dream pressure builds up in the body, and it's you absolutely needing to sleep. And this happens to everybody. So the idea that there are people who don't dream, that pressure would build up to a level that I don't know anyone could take. It's very, very odd. Hello, everyone. Just had a nightmare. 19 months. Swiss Vape, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry you had a nightmare, brother. Love Swiss Vapor. I really do. He's a very solid cat. Very, very solid cat. Happy birthday, brother. There's a good reason. Yeah. I'm malfunctioning. I've had bronchitis for 2 weeks. I couldn't sleep because I couldn't stop coughing. Oh my God. I'm sorry. That's awful. That really is. That's awful. All right. So people, about the time I met Q and started talking to him about concepts. Hey, Fancy Nancy, good to see you at East Coast. I sat down and talked with him. I had never heard this concept. I'd never heard the concept of a malfunctioning reward center of the brain. You go, what difference does it make, Tommy? Seriously, call it whatever you want, right? Call it an addiction, call it a malfunctioning reward center of the brain, call it, Swiss cheese. It's the same friggin' thing, and you got to beat it the same way. No, it's not. It's not at all. Once you understand the mechanism of what turns you into an asshole, number one, when you feel it coming, you'll realize this is an enemy, right? This isn't you talking yourself into, this is an enemy. This is a part of your brain that is doing everything within its power to short circuit you. That was a huge thing for me. It really was. That was a massive paradigm shift. So wait a second. There's an enemy in this. There's something I can fight, right? I can fight this. And once that was a huge thing. It also meant, the people that said, well, you're weak and you did, because you couldn't stay sober. Obviously it's a flaw in who you are. You're a weak individual. No, man. Do you remember your child being handed to you? If somebody at that time said, we're taking this kid now, he's gone, you're never going to see him again, you'd have lost your friggin' mind. You'd have hopped up off of that bed in whatever condition you were in, and you would have fought that dude on the way to the door. I'd have done the same thing for heroin. You hear me? I would have fought for my drug, right? Even a 10 bag of it, the same way you would have fought for your son or daughter. And not because I was a degenerate or because I was weak or because that's what my brain told me. My brain said, this is more important than Spanx Calhoun. This is more important than anything. This is being reinforced virtually every single time I buy a bag. And the proof is, I need to fix so bad that I'm vomiting. I'm looking at my partner and saying, when this stuff comes here, dude, I'm banging right here. I'm cooking in the parking lot. I'm doing it right here. I'm dying for 30 minutes as we're waiting for this guy to show up. We're both saying the same thing. Greetings, Australia. Good to have you here. We're both talking about how bad we're dying. You feel me? Both of us are talking about just how bad the pain is and this and that. 8, 9 hours without the drug. Deep, deep withdrawal. Bumming out. The car pulls into the parking lot. I hop into the car. I give the guy the money. When that stuff hits my hands, when the balloons hit my hand, that first wave of chemicals that says that's the most important thing in the world, right? It comes with a lot of other stuff too. And once that comes in, I go, I'm cool. I get in the car, right? I show it to my partner and he looks at me every time. So you still want to fix here? Nah. 15-minute ride to your house. Just drive it. I can wait. I can wait because the buzz already started, right? There's the drug buzz, and then there's the malfunctioning part of your brain buzz. Well, that part's already happened, right? Just like the alcoholic who tastes the booze and automatically feels better, right? I don't even feel sick anymore. Yeah, now I'm calm. I'm relaxed. The booze didn't do that. Booze didn't do that. Right? Take you 25 to 30 minutes for the booze to do that. But you felt it the second you tasted it. Malfunctioning reward center. Once you understand this, start to really believe that, you know what? I'm not a douche. I'm not someone that just doesn't care about the people around me, because that's what you start to think, don't you? I mean, as an addict, don't you sit there and go, how is it that heroin is more important to me than my kid? Right? What the F is wrong with me? Because there's nothing more important to me than that bag. What is wrong with my soul? What's wrong with who I am? And you talk to religious people and you talk to psychiatrists and you talk to psychologists until somebody can explain to you exactly what the hell is happening. You're simply not going to understand it. But you got a malfunctioning brain. It's not the end of the world. Honest to God, the start of every bit of power that I have on earth, the things that make me me, it started that friggin' day. That day, here was a black dude that I had known about a week saying to me, this isn't your fault. I mean, yeah, you did the dope, but do you understand why you did this stuff? You didn't have a choice. You didn't. And if people go, yeah, that's bullshit. Okay, could they have taken your kid away from you? Day 2, day 3 of taking your baby home, could they have come in and said, hey, we're taking this kid, right? And you'd have just gone, yeah, no, I'm good. No, no, you would have fought, you would have kicked, you would have screamed. Well, yeah, because he's beautiful, Tom. Yeah, no, because a bunch of chemicals got released in your brain, and those chemicals bonded you to that child, right? And Mother Nature knows that this needs to happen, because if not, it's going, wah, screaming, yelling, pissing, going to the bathroom on itself. You'd throw it out. The hell do I want with this thing? For real. Why in hell would you put up with it? You put up with it because Mother Nature knows what's going on and gives you a shot of chemicals that are enough to instantly bond you to that child for the rest of eternity. There's nothing you won't do for that kid, right? Nothing you wouldn't do for that kid. Well, I did that for 30 years with tar heroin, right? That's it. Plain and simple. ASAP Lizzie says, my drug use started differently and then it eventually became, which was escapism. Yeah, there are a lot of people who start out messing around and having fun, right? It's recreational. The first time you feel a buzz, it's great. But for those of us who already have the predisposition to addiction, then a lot of things are going to happen, right? That use is going to turn into, I want to feel like this forever. For the first time in the life of the addict, we feel comfortable in our own skin. For the first time for a lot of people since the day they were born, this is that first moment where you go, holy crap, I feel fantastic. You know, this is great. A group of us spent a weekend at a summer home with a couple. They kept saying, you got to see the baby. We did. It was hideous. But you know something? Another great example, right? I mean, how many times there's nobody listening to me that hasn't seen that kid where somebody goes, you really got to see my child. It's the most beautiful kid you've ever seen in your life. And they hold it up. You're like, God, help us. Right? The hell is that? Right? It's maybe not the greatest looking child I've ever seen. To that parent, that is the greatest looking child on planet Earth. bar none. Yeah, it is Seinfeld. Bar none, the greatest looking child in the world is your child. Why? Because it's yours? I mean, if you want to say it that way, if that makes you feel better or whatever, it's because Mother Nature bonded that child to you by putting chemicals in. And when you go and play with that child, it does it again. You spend more time with that child, it does it again. It continues to reward behavior that's going to help you make that child better. And it's going to not encourage behavior that's going to take you in the wrong direction, right? Make sense? Okay. So, what happens when it's not a baby? What happens when it's a bottle of bourbon, right? Got a lot of balls crapping on that person and calling them weak. I'm sorry, but you really should. You know, cinnamon and velvet, 5 weeks old. A couple of new furry crew members. I love it, vape. That will cheer you up, right? For real. That will definitely cheer you up. Nothing like a couple of fur babies to turn your day around, right? It was cool coming back here and playing with the animals. I'd be really surprised at how excited every one of them was to see me. I was blown away. I knew the cats would be, you know what I mean? But Bobo was really, really happy to see me, which was great. You know, it really was. It was great. Uh, that moment that you realize that the reward center of your brain is malfunctioning. I remember looking at him and saying, looking at Q and going, "So I'm effed, right? For the rest of my life, it's going to be like this, right? You couldn't break someone's love of a child. How the hell are you going to break, the love of this?" And he said, "Of course you can break the love of a child, right? Cults do it every day." And I remember thinking he was an idiot. Yeah, no, they couldn't do that. Then I got out, started meeting a bunch of second gens, and started to see things where parents just said, "Yeah, that's not my kid. You can take it and do whatever you want with it because, it's not a child. It's a thetan. You absolutely can get someone to go, I don't care about that. Whatever those chemicals did the day that that child was born, you can override that. It's not easy. It takes a lot of brainwashing, but you can override that." But he said, what you got to do is you got to get the reward center of your brain to start rewarding you for doing good stuff, right? Not for stealing, which it used to reward me for because it knew stealing was going to get to the drug, which is going to feed the habit. So all of these things, I used to get good doses of chemicals for doing the scummiest things on planet Earth. And then I started doing things like helping people I didn't know, right? I told everybody here that I started a drug program in prison for guys that wanted to come and start talking about getting sober and being serious about it. Wasn't my idea, right? It wasn't my idea. I had no desire to do that. Q suggested that I do that. And a funny thing happened. About the fourth time we went and did one of these meetings, which I was just going through the motions to make dude happy, you know? And somebody came up to me afterwards and said, "Hey, man, I haven't used in 3 days." You know? I said, "What?" He said, "I haven't got high in 3 days." I didn't know this cat. I mean, I didn't. I knew who he was. He was in my unit, but I didn't care about him. This guy didn't mean anything to me. And I got a lump in the back of my throat and I can feel tears welling up in the corners of my eyes. I'm going, what the F is going on with this? This doesn't even make sense. Well, I was happy enough for tears to break out. Why would that be? Right? Well, because the reward center of my brain thought that what I just did was cool. And it was probably the first time in a really long time that I got rewarded for doing something positive, but it worked. And it really, really got me going. Right? It really got me going. I started to try to do other things. I started to work with more people. There were guys in there. Everybody knows there are dudes in there that can't read, right? There's a lot of them. There's a lot of guys in prison that can't read. None of them want to let on that they can't read. It's a very embarrassing thing. So you would see on a regular basis guys that needed to write a letter of apology or needed to do this or this. And the judge said, "Man, you send us an apology letter. I'll toss this out." And you'd see guys in court go, "F you. I ain't writing your effing apology letter." You're thinking, how stupid. Ah, literally. They'll just go do 4 more years in prison because they don't want to say in front of a room full of people, "I don't know how to read, Your Honor." So I started going and finding every single person in the law library that I thought was in there looking for help. right? People that couldn't read but needed someone to write something. And I started writing for anybody that needed it. And then people who could write started to ask me to do stuff because the last one didn't work well for them. And I would spend about 6 hours a day helping people. It probably sounds silly, but I started helping people all day because while I was doing that, I wasn't sitting there thinking, you know what I need? I need a shot. That's what I need. I need a friggin' fix. If I was doing something, right? I talk about this all the time. Two things can't occupy the same place at the same time. Same with thoughts, right? So that thought that kept telling me, I need a fix, I need a fix. If I'm listening to somebody else's problems, right, I can't do both of those things at the same time. So sitting and listening to people and offering my opinion. And yeah, I did it for hours and hours every day. And then they shipped me to a new prison. And Q's not there anymore, right? I had to say goodbye to him. I was being moved because I was so close to leaving prison that it was time they had to move me. And it was a bummer. You know, I was leaving not just a good friend of mine, but a dude that changed my life, right? Just completely changed my life. And I had to leave him there. And I had to leave him there knowing he probably wasn't getting out. I believe now he will because I'm going to fight until he does. But at the time, I didn't know what was, you know, what the world was going to be or anything else. So it was just a hard thing. But when I got to the next yard, the first friggin' thing that I did was start to try to get a drug bust up and running. Q wasn't there to look on and be impressed. I wasn't doing any of this crap for anybody else anymore. But I knew if I could get a little class going and if I started working with people that wanted to get clean, that I wasn't going to be sitting around all day long thinking about dope. And that's going to keep me from hanging out with the guys that do dope. And there's a really good chance I'll get off this yard without losing any good time or doing any drugs. Worked out, right? Good to see you lost mittens. And it worked out. So when I got out of prison and I went to the halfway house, I got a job. I worked 8 hours a day every day, but I cannot have idle time on my hands. I've been sober a long ass time now. You know, I've been sober a long time, but I'm still going to spend the vast majority of the time that I have left on this planet trying to help people who are struggling to put drugs in the rearview mirror. Okay? The reward center of my brain loves that. I swear to God, you have no idea. You guys hear me come on here, and someone will send me an email, and it'll say, you know what? When I first found the lifeboat, I was doing this drug, and this drug, right? And now I've got 9 months of sobriety, and if it wasn't for you, and if it wasn't for the lifeboat, this wouldn't have happened. And I still tell people that's my drug of choice. I'm not being funny. A drug goes into your body, heroin goes into your body, and then it goes up and it attaches to the MU receptor. And then that releases chemicals that are going to make you feel high. I'm doing the same thing. But I'm doing it without the drug to put in my system. When I start working with these people, my brain goes, ooh, good stuff. And it sends down chemicals that makes you go, wow, right? This is a good thing, right? Shannon C. Q killed 2 people. Q was in prison for killing 2 people. He was a boy when he did it. And he did it because he was a member of a gang. And that gang was his father, his grandfather, his role model. Everything that it meant to be a man was this gang. And they sent him to rob somebody because if he gets caught with a gun, it's not going to be much time for him or whatever. He's under 18, right? So they'd send him off to a juvie place, and they might keep him until he's 24, but then they're going to have to release him, right? So he's not going to do a lot. He went in to rob a drug dealer. It was supposed to be a very easy score because the guy was old, and the guy was ready to hand over everything. The 2 guys who were in the room with the door closed didn't have any intention of that happening. So they went running out onto my guy with guns blaring. They opened the door and started shooting at him, right? Now, if for any other reason on earth, this would be called self-defense. But self-defense doesn't exist if you're committing a felony. In the commission of a felony, everything you do is felony murder, right? That's it. You can't defend yourself. You were there committing a felony. Feel me? Okay, so he shot and he hit with both of them. 2 headshots. Unfortunately, right? He was a good shot, right? But he got life in prison, and he was a boy. He really was. He wasn't a man yet, not by any stretch of the imagination. So we're We're going to keep fighting to try to get Q a shot, right? He's done nothing wrong since he got arrested. Guy's never had a write-up. If you had any idea how hard that is, honest to God, if you had any idea how hard that is, after I got sober, I got 3 write-ups. After I got sober, working every day on who I was, everything I did was to try to make myself a better person. I got 3 write-ups. It's a very difficult thing to not get written up in federal prison. It's damn near impossible, right? Shannon C, it's okay. I'm not, this is what Q did, right? It is what it is. Q'd be the first to tell you, this is what happened. It is what it is. And you know something? If you shoot 2 people, you should go to prison. You should. You take 2 lives, you should go to prison. However, this is a very serious extenuating circumstances, right? There's a lot of things that if you take into account, um, you really will get an idea of just who this guy is, who he has become since then. Um, he has his own mission that he would like to do. It's different than mine, but he has his own mission, and he has spent way more time on his than I spent on mine. This is a guy that wants to change the earth, and I think if he gets out, he'd be able to. As far as can you help him? Not much at this point, right? Not much at this point. There may be a time when there may be a time that I'm not going to be able to continue to do the things that I do without help. And if that happens, then I will come on here and I will tell you who the lawyer you can send the money to. It'll have nothing to do with me, right? But I'm not there now. I'm not there now at all. Right now, everything that can be done for him is being done for him, literally. And we don't need any help for that yet. We're doing okay that way. Honestly, I would love to be able to spend more on his legal on his legal defense than I'm spending, but there's only so much that you can do. You got to work within a framework of it's crazy. This doesn't make sense, but you know who Derek Chauvin is. Derek Chauvin put his knee on the neck of Floyd. He was the guy that was kneeling on him when Floyd died, and he got sentenced to prison. He appealed his case. It came back. The appeal is lost. If tomorrow somebody were to come out with new evidence or anything that said Chauvin didn't do this, here's the proof of it, he still can't get another trial. I'm not being funny. You have no idea how hard it is. Once you've had an appeal in the feds, you have exhausted any remedy. You can't even approach the court. You understand? When you go to approach the court, they go, you've already done this. You only get once. You already did this. Yeah, but you don't understand. No, they're not even going to hear the argument, which is awful. So you got to keep going around people, right? You got to keep going around people so that you have a shot at eventually getting to a higher court that says, no, you got to listen to what's going on. At least he didn't get the no life penalty. Yeah, well, yeah, they could have given him the death penalty. They didn't seek the death penalty because when he pulled the trigger, he wasn't 18. Which is just a very hard thing for me to wrap my brain around, right? Because I wasn't much of a man at 17. I wasn't much of a man at 30. I don't know how they judge somebody for something that he does at the age of 17. Hold on one second, people. Okay. All righty. Sorry about that. But if you're one of those individuals whose addiction has puzzled you for your entire life, right? If you've relapsed 45 freaking times, if you sit there with your head in your hands going, why did I do it again? I was off the crap. I went to jail. Everything was good. I got out. I had a wife. I had a family. I had why would I do it again? And you start thinking to yourself, I have mental illness, right? My IQ must be 7. I got to be dumber than anybody else in order to be able to do this, right? Something's wrong. There's something so wrong with me. If there had been somebody early on, right? If there had been somebody early on to explain this concept to me, If I had had this concept explained to me at 25, I would have gotten sober then. Maybe not at 25, but I'd have gotten sober at 26 or at 27. It might have taken a few tries, but I would have understood that I'm not defective, right? One little spot of me is, right? My reward center ain't working right. That part of my brain that says this was a good thing, Tommy, this was a bad thing, Tommy, it's not working right. It can be fixed. It can be fixed. It can be fixed without drugs. Well, how do you do that? You got to start doing a bunch of stuff that it should reward you for, and it will begin to. But as drug addicts, we stop doing anything good. We do. You can BS yourself and say that you're doing stuff, but you're not, right? We give up on things that are altruistic. We might be down helping, but there's always an angle, right? There's always an angle. We're not there selflessly donating our time and our efforts. It's just not the way it goes down, right? It's not the way it was going down. But I can't begin to tell you the relief to know that I'm not weak. I didn't do this for 30 years because I'm weak. Seriously, I got willpower like nobody I've ever met, man. I ain't weak. Come tell me I'm weak. I ain't weak. But you think you are. You think you're weak. You think that you're defective. You think you're evil. This is what society tells you. No, man. But there was a part of my brain that kept giving chemicals to me every time I did something wrong. Every time I did something wrong, I got a dose of chemicals that said, good job. Keep doing what you're doing. Doesn't that feel good? You like those chemicals? We'll give you more of them. Keep stealing, keep lying, keep anything that keeps the buzz alive. You understand? This part of your brain is supposed to keep rewarding you if it makes the organism safer, if it continues the species like sex, any of these things that protect you or the species, it's supposed to reward. It's rewarding habits that are killing me. It's doing the exact opposite of what it's supposed to be doing. Feel me? It's doing the exact opposite. You got to get it back on track. You got to rewire that. Start with making your bed, right? Tommy, why do you bust so much balls about making the bed? Because it's the first way to start realigning your malfunctioning reward center. The first day you make that bed, you smooth everything out and you look at it before you leave the room, you might get this much of it. It may not be a blast, but you're going to get the reward center. Your brain's going to go, all right, all right, maybe we're supposed to do something on this thing. I don't know, right? But this is a shot. This is a shot of finding out who you are. This is a shot of saying I'm going to take control over who and what I am, and I am going to be yeah, it's called a kick burglary. If somebody is home, you go into somebody's home and you got a piece, that's a kick burglary or a home invasion, and that carries unbelievable amounts of time because they're trying to make people safe. There's very little that they prosecute as nasty as they prosecute kick burglaries. This is not the case of what happened. He went into this room invited. The man assumed he was going to be buying drugs from him, right? When he got in, he went, I think I'll take the drugs and all the money. He was robbing him. But when he knocked on the door, the two guys who were in there buying dope, the old man said, just go in the back. I'll take care of this guy. So as the robbery's taking place, these two guys come blasting out of the back with guns and start firing at Q. Q did a better job of shooting, which, I mean, at least he's still with us, but it's kind of a bummer. Relatively new here from Reese. You are so inspiring. Wow. Would you be willing to share your son's story? You have no, my son Spanky. He come here tomorrow morning, right? Spank shares his story all of the time. He shares his story here all of the time. Yeah, my son is a co-host here on the Lifeboat. There are tons of videos. There are videos that the two of us did together where we talk about his story. But in a nutshell, his story went like this. He was born to two drug addicts, right? His mother and his father were drug addicts. Not when he was born. So he had a good birth and we didn't damage his brain, nothing like that. But by the time he was coming online and he could figure out what was going on, both his mother and his father were addicted to drugs. I made a lot of money, right? I had a good job. I made a ton of money. but I was addicted to drugs. And that has an effect. If you're listening to me and you're like, well, my kid doesn't know that I'm doing this, or this, or I hide it from your kid doesn't know you're doing drugs. Your kid knows something's wrong. I promise. Your kid knows something's wrong because that hiding that you're doing, it sends off a signal that you're hiding something. And your kid knows that something's going on and it's not right. And it's what I'm most ashamed of in life. If you want to know the truth, it's what I'm most ashamed of in life is that I could have been doing this with my kid when he was a much younger kid. I mean, I played with him. We went out, we did fun things, but I was a drug addict, and there's just not much that you can say after that, right? There's a video of a Navy SEAL talking about make your bed here on YouTube. I'll be damned. I would be interested. I'd be interested in reading that. But that was a cue bust my balls thing. Got to make your bed. Got to make your bed. I said, I do make my bed. There's a rule in prison. Your bed has to be made. They can write you up if it's not. I said, I do make my bed. He said, bullshit. You put the sheets up there so that the cop's not going to write you up. He's like, that's not making your bed. He's like, do it like this is the last thing you're ever going to get to do on earth. And you're going to do it better than anybody has ever done it. Sounds stupid as shit. But the first time I did, and you step away and you're like, damn, right? Damn. You're going to have, your brain's going to release some chemicals, man. Yeah, John Van Geese gets it. There's also the fact that 99% of people are terrible liars. If you think you're hiding things well, you aren't. I'm not trying to beat on anybody. It's not my get down. I don't like talking about people. I like talking about stories. However, the attorney, right? Nick Ricchetta. I know we have Nick fans here. There's a lot of Nick fans in my audience, but Nick is a perfect example, man. Right? Nick was sure that his swinging lifestyle and the drugs that they were doing and all that, his kids didn't know. They had no idea. That search warrant and all that crap was because his kids were going to school and teachers were saying, you were wearing these clothes yesterday. And the kids just sat down and told them everything that was going on. They didn't know there were drugs taking place, but kids they don't realize that what they're saying is bad. They go, yeah, mom and dad don't come out of the bedroom anymore. They've got two friends that stay with them all day. They just don't come out anymore. Well, all of a sudden, it starts looking weird. Hey, Blake, good to see you. Then they start saying some of the other stuff that just screams drug use. So they got a warrant and they went in and they found exactly what the kids were talking about, That's an absolute fact. This is an absolute fact. If a bed is made perfectly, bed bugs have a much easier time doing whatever they do on it. Made beds are considerably more desirable to, however, I'll take that risk. And I'll take that risk because I know what the reward is. For real. I have to nail everything. I got to get everything right. Everything. From the time I wake up, every time I got a shot at a victory, especially if it's one that is unopposed, right? There's nobody that's going to be in there trying to knock me to the ground while I'm making my bed, right? I'm unopposed. I can make that. I need that victory every day. I need that victory. I do yoga every day. I need that victory. Right? I work out every day. And everything I just told you, all of it, including journaling, feeding the dogs, taking them outside, doing the walks, all that shit, it's all done by 6 a.m. Because I got a routine. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I start doing my stuff. Right? It's, would I like to sleep till 11? Yeah, it's a lot more fun. But I did that my entire life. I didn't have to get up. I was a public speaker. I could sleep until 11 and then I could get up and do whatever I want. That lifestyle, right? People go, I'm going to quit doing drugs. You're still going to sleep till 11? Yeah, you'll be back on dope. You'll be back on dope. You got to change your lifestyle. You got to change people, places, things, and attitudes. People say you got to change people, places, and things. Oh, so if I took you to a different town and you went to a different group of people to go play darts on Friday night, that would be less dangerous? No. You're going into a place that serves alcohol, right? To hang out with people who are drinking alcohol, to throw darts at a board. I don't like your odds, right? I think eventually you're gonna have a drink. Really good rule of thumb is this. If you got 3 friends that are drinking and you're the guy that says, I don't drink, the odds that you're going to get the 3 to stop are not nearly as good as the 3 are going to get you to crack a beer. I promise. Is there any address I could write to Q? A petition. He deserves a second chance. He saved countless lives. Yeah, you know what? Here's the good news about that. So the lawyers that we're working with, a day is coming. I've told people this, and I'll tell you again. A day is coming where the lawyer is going to say, all right, we want letters to come in. And ideally, we're not going to want them in paper. We're going to want them digitally, and we're going to want them to go to a judge, and we're going to want to inundate them. We're going to want thousands of people who say what their experience here was, and it wouldn't have happened without Q. That day is coming, and when we do, we're going to go hard to the paint. I'm going to ask you guys. I will beg you guys, right, to write letters. But between now and then, just keep your powder dry because that day is coming. And then we may have to mail them in hard copy, right? We may have to do it both ways. The day is coming. I'm going to ask for your help vis-a-vis my friend Q. And I will expect everybody to help me for real. But it will be for him, and it will be when that time comes, it'll be perfect and it'll be obvious. In other words, I'm not doing a GoFundMe page where you send me money, right? You can send money to the lawyer that's working on his case. There are things we could do that way, but I'm going to make it very transparent of what we're doing. I want every penny that can help Q to help Q. But for the time being, I can afford that, right? Thank God. For the time being, I'm able to afford his case, and I don't feel messed up about paying for it. He saved my life. Now, if somebody else told me that about me, I would say to them, I didn't save your life, right? You saved your own life. I was there to give you some advice, but I'm different than you. I'm sorry, I really am. Like it wasn't just the drugs, right? Like I was a criminal. There was a lot of things about me that needed to be fixed, and he really came along at a perfect time and changed my life. And I will keep fighting for him happily until the day that I check out. Why, thank you. Thank you so much. I've probably told that story a dozen times, maybe 2 dozen times on the boat. It's always a bummer. It's always a bummer for me because this cat shouldn't be in prison. It would be a better world if he was on the street. And there aren't too many people I could say that about. But it would be a better world if Q was free than it is with him incarcerated. For that reason and that reason alone, we should probably have him out of prison. So, but I do believe wholeheartedly that he will get out. There is a there is a very there is a paradigm shift going right now about how people view inmates and how people view how people have been done dirty by the prison system. And we're keeping it real, people. I never step on people's feelings, but I don't give a crap much either. The fact that he's black will be a huge benefit to him. It really will. Statistically speaking, right now, you're way better off trying to make an appeal if you're not white, because right now they are lashing out at white people in the court system in a big way. It's nothing racist. This is a fact. So it's good that he's in a perfect place right now. This is a good time, and we're doing everything that we can do. When I need help, I promise you I will ask. Uh, Kristen Melinda says, somehow things I know logically, intellectually sink in emotionally so much more after I hear it here. Maybe it's because Tommy is more convincing than textbooks. You know what? It's because Tommy read all those textbooks too, right? Honestly, I read every one of those textbooks too. But I think that people will say, this is what my superpower is, or this is what my superpower is, or whatever. If I have a superpower, it's this. I can listen to you say something, and as soon as you're done, I can say it better than you can. That's as a public speaker, that's what your superpower usually is. I don't need a script. I don't need all that crap. Show me a video of the last guy that did it, and I can go on stage and do it. And I could probably do it better. Unless he's really good, I could probably do it better than he can. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a lot easier than reading it. All of your senses become engaged. You understand? When I say sit down and journal, because your emotional part of your brain and now the higher functioning part of your brain, Kristen Melinda, you're looking at me. So you got the visual that's going on, you're hearing it. And while that's going on, people are writing emotional stuff in the chat, right? And you're going back and forth. So there's not a part of your brain you're not using. So I bet it probably gives you more of a feeling, more of a hook. Would make sense. Yeah, no write-ups. How's this? Again, I'm not trying to like, I know every time we do this, it sounds like I'm uh that I really, I'm just beating the drum from my best friend, but uh this guy has worked at Unicor without getting fired, without getting laid off, without having any problem. That is the factory that's within the prison. He has worked for Unicor the entire time he's been in prison and never lost his job. He's been if he gets out, he's set. He's been buying stock, he's been putting money away the entire time he's been down. He's well off. Honestly, if he got out, he'd be in good shape. Okay. End of musing. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Don't put off things like tests, right? We got to make sure we do those things for real. Hey, Johnny, I just read your comment. Even more than you? Oh, I love you more than anybody. I don't know if that's what you were talking about, but pretty big fan of my brother. I was telling these people that the book is book's in the can and just needs some editing and some stuff. So it won't be long now. Well, the book is very long, but say it out loud right here on the lifeboat. It's gospel. Thank you, Brazy. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Yeah. When people say something in a different way or say something better, it's always offensive anyway. It really is. Yeah, I got a look alike in the chat. You know what? Just once I want that to happen to my brother. I want someone to go up and go, "Hey man, aren't you Tommy Scoville?" It's not gonna happen, but it's funny when like if I go to a festival with him or whatever, when people come up and ask for an autograph thinking I'm Johnny, I just sign the autograph. I don't want to bum him out and tell him I don't know where he is and all that stuff. I'll be like, yeah, give it to me. Give it to me. I'll sign that. We joke about it all the time. The following Monday, right after the festival, they're like, "Hey, I got Johnny Scoble to sign something," and I took a selfie with him. My friends are going, "That's not Johnny. Johnny's got a beard." Your house has much better hot sauce. There you go. You see that, Johnny? Making the world a better place, burning one person at a time. All right, people. That takes me over the 1 hour mark. I kind of promised my partner here that I wasn't going to go too long this evening. Got a lot of fun stuff I got to talk to her about tonight. We've been very productive of late, getting a lot done. So I am going to go and kick it with Quibs. I would like to thank all of you for coming here and for listening. Means the world to me. And you know what? I appreciate you putting up with me. I jump off. I jump off of the subject a lot, and if it's Q, I mean the show pretty much goes to hell because I love the dude. I really love the dude, and I want him out more than I want most everything on this planet. So, but thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate you. I will be back tomorrow, people. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. All right. Good night.